Hello, my name is Iris, and in this video we are going to discuss about how come there was a 33-story high-rise building collapse in Bangkok after the large earthquake happened in Myanmar, where it's 1,000 kilometers away. And first of all, we look at the structure system of this building. This building applies the shear wall system, which is different from the typical frame structure systems. There are three main parts in this system. As you can see, the most critical part is the core walls. They can resist all the lateral forces, including the wind and the earthquakes. So you can imagine in the earthquakes happens, and all the lateral horizontal forces are borne by the core walls. Also, there are some few columns they call gravity columns in this system. But in contrast to the frame structure system, the gravity columns here, the sizes will be smaller because these columns are not playing a role in resisting the earthquake. They are more like resist the vertical bearings from the top. When adopting these columns, you can enhance the aesthetic appeal and interior capacity of structures. And shear wall system is often paired with a flat slab design. The flat slab design means there is no typical obvious beams in existing attached the slabs. The benefit of flat slab design is to increase the net height in between the floors. It allows us to live in a more spacious living space. But the problems for flat slab design is it might cause the poor earthquake resistance in some designs. The good thing for flat slab design is there's no obvious beams attached to the slab, so the columns you can position in more flexible places, and you don't have to be restrained by the directions of these beams. And another part is these gravity columns, you don't have to be designed in a large way, as these columns only need to bear vertical loads and do not need to resist the lateral earthquake forces. As seismic forces and wind forces, they will be resisted by the core walls. If you are still listening, you might thinking, oh my, shear wall system seems not so good. But actually, it's quite popular and it's a mainstream design. Let's say the most famous example, it's the highest residential building in the world, which located in the Central Park, New York. As you can see their layout, as it adopts the shear wall designs, so the gravity columns can be built in a very more tiny and slim size. And when we come back to the Bangkok to look at the layout of this building, this audit office is also composed mainly of shear walls and gravity columns, so it's a typical shear wall system. But actually, there are many types of structures in relation to its height and floors. From the lowest about 20 to 30 floors, we usually price the called frame system. But when you want to build a high-rise building above 30 stories, the architect might adopt the shear wall system. As there is a core wall in this system, it can be efficiently resist the wind force and the seismic force. So as far as this building concerned, actually it was correct to choose this method of building. And if you want to build a higher, so you might consider using tube system. The main difference between tube and the shear wall system is about the columns might be built in a higher density. And if you want to build in a more challenging high-rise building, let's say over 100 stories, The architect and the building team might choose the outrage brace system, which consists of every 10 to 15 floors. They will create a outrage structure to support. The most famous example for outrageous brace system is Taipei 101. They consist of 11 floors. They will create the X-shaped braces to support and to resist the stronger wind and the seismic forces. If you come back to dig the reasons why this happened, maybe because Bangkok is not an area prone to have earthquake, so the building regulations is not as strict as those who in Japan and in Taiwan. Okay, I put those most straightforward and easy to understand the graph. And which one is more dangerous? Is that first type or second type? Okay, I believe everyone born in Taiwan, they should know, because the 8th wave, when that happens, then you should run as quick as possible. Because when an earthquake happens, it releases energy from in forms of those two seismic waves. First one is P wave, and second one is S wave. In summary, P wave come fast and move fast, and they go through solids and liquids both. But S wave, they come after, they come second. They move slower, but S wave only travel through solid like rocks or soils, and S wave can create severe shakings. Again, if we consider the landfall in Bangkok, Bangkok is located on a low-lying alluvial plain and formed and surrounded by the Chao Phraya River. This location was created over time by the river accumulating depositing layers of silt and sediment, so making this area become very soft and flat. Besides, when you try to build some high-rise buildings on Bangkok, and you can imagine this kind of soft ground floor and water-filled basins makes this area sensitive to changes in those high-rise buildings and pressure from infrastructures. And sometimes the side effect could be another reason for damages. Take a historical earthquake, for example. There was an earthquake about 400 kilometers away from Mexico City. At the epicenter, the energy can be measured is around 150 centimeters per second. But despite being so far from the epicenter, Mexico City is severely suffered from damages. This is because the energy released from the earthquake, it resonated with the city's basin terrain and causing the shaking heavily and causing these damages to be amplified. Another reasons for collapsing might be puncturing shear failure. In simple words, you imagine the sticks in a barbecue. It penetrates through the slabs. The slab is like a meat. It usually occurs when the slab isn't enough strong to handle the heavy load from the column. And the slide is show that what happened before in the UK, Wolverhampton parking lot. It started with one corner of the column, and affect with a series of columns together. And if we look back to Bangkok site, you can see all columns still well shaped, but the slabs were all cracked and shattered. And finally, look at the reasons for collapsing. It might be the quality of design and the structural building. Although the design team have considered about putting some concealed beam in the design, but there is no obvious vertical stirrups. This is typical stirrups in the beams, and we do not know what type of rods and rebars they actually built in these buildings.